Hello everyone and welcome to my review for Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 168. Before I get into this week's review, I do have to mention that we're only 86 subscribers away from our subscriber goal for 2021, hitting 4,000 by the end of the year. So if you're watching this and you haven't already, you should definitely hit that subscribe button. Every one of you counts, and with each one of you, we get a little bit closer to our goal. So I guarantee if everyone who wasn't subscribed hit that button, we'd reach our goal in no time. So with that out of the way, let's get on with the review. By the way, I don't plan on doing a review for the Yuta one-shot, because while it was good, there wasn't really that much to talk about that wasn't talked about in the reaction. So anyway, there's a few things to go over in this week's chapter, first of which we find out who the exploding eyeball was from. This was from a guy by the name of Hazanoki Iori, who owns 35 points and seems to be part of Reggie's little group. His technique seems to be that he can rip off parts of his body and use them as explosives, and then they regenerate. So, a pretty nifty technique. It's actually a pretty strong technique, but the downside to it is that you have to injure yourself. Now, fortunately, you do regenerate, but I imagine ripping out your eye or ripping out some of your teeth is still pretty fucking painful. And this guy is clearly a little cracked, so I guess it works for him. Or he just kind of lost his shit after realizing, oh, I rip off parts of my body and make them explode, and then was constantly experiencing the pain of having various body parts ripped out. So that's something. We get kind of a allusion to what Reggie's technique is. It seems that he is able to create items from the receipts that he has on his body. He was able to create gasoline from some of them. So that's actually also a pretty good technique. Now, I have to question, is it just like any receipt? Like, if he just finds a receipt somewhere, is he able to create the items that are on the receipt? Because if so, that's actually a pretty good technique. That's pretty solid. Then we get kind of a breakdown from Remy, who does indeed have a scorpion tail as her hair. I know there were a lot of people that expected that. She seems to have some issues. She's pathetic. She relies on people to protect her. She believes Reggie wholeheartedly when he says that he was going to protect her, and she wants Megumi to say the same. And he also said that he loves her, which is just like, you are so easily manipulated. Clearly you've experienced some kind of trauma in the past, but you are absolutely unhinged and frankly useless. And Megumi has no time for this shit, let me tell you. Sigma Grindset Megumi does not give a shit about this woman's problems. Trash scum who clings to other people rather than, do shit for themselves, believes more in people's words than their actions. No time, no respect for people like that. Then the claw guy comes back, Hari Chizuru, and it's after this point that things line up with Yuji's fight with Higuruma. We have the new rule edition that you're able to swap points with other people. So then Megumi kicks the shit out of Chizuru. And I was like, oh my god, did he kill him? Because he took out his sword, and it looked like he was repeatedly stabbing him in the face with it, but actually he was just smashing the butt of the grip into his face. And then he stabs him in the head. Actually, is that a stab, or did he, cleave him on top of the head? I think based on the blood splatter on the sword that he, cleaved it down onto his head. So Megumi just killed a guy. I don't think Megumi's killed a guy before. We already knew that he was not entirely opposed to that. Megumi is not the same kind of moral absolutist that Yuji is when it comes to that stuff, even though Yuji has killed people as well. For him, it's a thing that needs to be avoided unless it's absolutely necessary. Whereas with Megumi, it's like, hey, can you guys give me your points? No? Okay. Then I'm gonna get some points anyway. So, Megumi's biggest concern with the rule change was not avoiding killing people, it was making sure that Sumiki didn't have to kill people. That they could just give Sumiki points, and she wouldn't have to worry about fighting or anything. But for the rest of them, for Megumi, he's like, yeah, whatever. I'll take whatever they throw at me. I'm gonna get some points. So, based on his face at the bottom of this page here, looking very cold, it is possible that Megumi may be going down a little bit of a dark path here, you know, kind of starting to resemble his father a little bit, which could be mildly concerning, but then we have to consider that he has the likes of Yuji around, so I'm not too worried about Megumi fully falling into darkness, but it is something we have to kind of consider. Seems to be the curse of the Zenin clan, everyone ends up being kind of an asshole one way or another. Anywho, I forgot his name already, but Exploding Body Parts guy spits one of his teeth at Megumi, and it's blocked by a guy who is dressing up as and acting like a superhero. And this is none other than Takaba Fumihiko, who you may remember as the shitty stand-up comedian. He definitely seems to be doing some kind of superhero shtick. His costume is so fucking bizarre, it only covers half of his body. Like half of his body vertically, so only his left half is covered by a costume, while he's basically naked on his right half. And he proclaims, after having an exploding tooth hit him in the face, that he's received 0 damage, as blood is very clearly spurting out of his head. He's got a bloody nose. He's very clearly taken damage, so I don't know what the fuck he's smoking here. And he has 0 points, by the way, so he hasn't killed a single person. He's apparently parodying I think it was a comedy bit from Japan called Center Man. That's interesting, I guess. And apparently next week we're gonna be seeing how his jokes are used in battle on the colored cover of the chapter. I don't know if that's next week or next issue, because I think Shonen Jump is on break next week. It's either next week or the week after, I think. So we were under the impression that Takaba has Nanami's 7-3 ratio technique, and while he may have something to do with the 7-3 ratio, it may not work in the same way, because for starters, why the fuck would Takaba come in and take an exploding tooth to the face if he knew that he wasn't going to take damage or something? Now, either he thought he wouldn't take damage, or he's totally full of shit, or he's trying to figure out how his technique works. And I think that's the case here. The fact that he has 0 points, other than showing that he doesn't seem to really be like a violent person or anything, shows that he doesn't know what he's doing. While Higuruma is like a fucking prodigy who mastered a bunch of shit within 12 days, Takaba has no idea what he's doing. He has no clue whatsoever. And he's still trying to figure it out. He still doesn't entirely understand how his curse technique works, which is cool to see. In most cases, you're not going to immediately master something that you just developed, some skill you just acquired like a week and a half ago. It's probably not going to happen. So, I assume we're going to be seeing that. I wonder if his stand-up comedy is going to play into his technique in some manner. If it's not just 7-3, or if the 7-3 ratio plays into it in a different way than it did for Nanami, or maybe 7-3 had nothing to do with it and it was just a red herring, I don't know. But I don't think so, that seems like a really specific detail. So, yeah, I guess we're gonna see what happens with Takaba's stand-up humor. I can tell from Megumi's face here, just the look of, who the fuck are you? That we're gonna be in for a bit of a treat next chapter. We're gonna be in for some funny shit. I imagine also Reggie and Exploding Guy are just gonna be standing there like, what the fuck is going on? What are you doing? Who are you? So it should prove to be quite humorous. But yeah, with that, And that's all I've really got to say for this week's chapter. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads. I do Jujutsu Kaisen chapter reactions and reviews every week. If you enjoy discussing Jujutsu Kaisen with other people, or you just enjoy the content I produce on this channel, I highly suggest you check out my Discord server. I've linked that down in the description. And since it's the end of the video, it's time to give a shout out to my wonderful patrons. Special thanks to Fuse, Neo, Dijon Redden, Anthony Chavez, Honey Mustard, Zach Rowitz, K-God, Chris Redfield, Scratch23, Rack, Ryzen 4K, Artist, Mac Campaign, Wave of Manga, Chuck's Feed and Seed, Jakester Easy, and Play Free Labs. Thank you all very much for supporting me on Patreon. I greatly appreciate it. And if you too want to get a shout out at some point during videos, or access to reviews for Solo Leveling and The Boxer, you can always become a patron as well. There's a link to my Patreon down in the description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys around. Take care.